Welcome to the Devil's Podcast. I'm HeYamin.
And I'm Andromeda.
And we have with us...
Mark Williams.
Welcome.
This is a special episode. This is our first time being filmed on an episode.
A little awkward.
Yeah. I mean, it's only as awkward as you make it, right?
Yeah.
And we are gratefully being allowed to interview Mark H. Williams of Circle of the Dark Mother. He's one of my teachers, and he is. We really wanted to do this because I thought it would be a great idea. He really liked the idea of it. Yeah. So here we are. Here we are being filmed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm honored to be on the Devil's Podcast because I've listened to every one of the episodes.
I love that.
That's awesome. And we're glad that you enjoy them. We enjoyed doing them. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I like to see where it's headed and where it's going. It feels good. So we've got some questions for you, Mark.
I may have answers.
Yeah, you may have answers. So to start at the very beginning, because I feel like a lot of people don't know. Like, even I didn't know for a long time until we talked about it. Like, because I know Circle of the Dark Mother is all about Lilith, and we'll get to that. But where did this journey begin? Like, where did this all start?
Well, I have to go back 63 years. No, I'm not going to go quite that far. When I was a kid, I was really drawn to a lot of occult type stuff. I mean, even as a little kid. I remember being very young, and I mean, we're talking like junior high, and being in a store with my mother, and across the street was an occult bookstore, and I went over there and ended up buying a copy of Dion Fortune's Kabbalah book, and not having any idea what it was about. I also was about that age when I found a Vampirella comic that had a story about the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve and Lilith. And I kept thinking, what if there is this figure? So that's sort of how it all started. Fast forward, I go through, all the kid stuff, teens, get married, have kids. And I actually, even though I'm really into the occult stuff, I wasn't really practicing anything. I started reading the New Testament and had no idea, because I didn't grow up in a church, had no idea what Christianity was really about. Read the New Testament with no teachings from somebody else and really was like, oh, this is sort of cool. So I went to a church, had no idea what denominations were, somehow found one of the most strict denominations possible, because it's me, it's how it works.
Yeah.
At first, I really didn't understand what was going on. I mean, it was like, oh, this is okay. And then I started working with youth, and the youth pastor left. And next thing I know, I'm the youth pastor, which was pretty ironic since I really didn't have a great Christian background. I knew the basics, but that was about it. So I went, my first student that I was supposed to mentor was a 17-year-old girl who was HIV positive. And I realized, and this is the 90s, I realized I had no idea what I was doing. So I went to the local college and I talked to a counselor there and said, look, I need theology and I need counseling. And he's like, well, just so happens that tonight we're starting a new cohort of a master's in theology and pastoral counseling. So I'm like, okay. So I started school, got my master's, was getting my master's, started realizing I didn't agree with a lot of what was going on in the church. I didn't agree with the fact women couldn't do anything pretty much except teach kids. I didn't agree on the negatives of the LGBTQ plus community. Didn't like the whole health thing. And as I'm getting my master's, I start realizing that not only do I not agree, I start realizing that the beginnings of Christianity didn't agree with a lot of this. So, of course, I asked a lot of questions and got in trouble, and um, other life things happened, and I left. I quit. And so, I had just come out of getting a master's in theology. So, I had done a paper on Gnosticism. It was supposed to be why it's a heresy. I ended up doing a positive paper on why I loved it. Um, so, so after I left the church, I started exploring Gnostic groups and got involved with one out of Denver. I was in Ohio at the time. Started meeting with them online. Actually flew out and met them and did a whole weekend workshop. And then I got involved with another group because they sort of merged with another Gnostic Kabbalistic group. So I started to learn Kabbalah and did that for 15 years. I had a group in Austin, Texas called Magdalene Circle. It was a Gnostic Kabbalistic group. We did a little bit of Lilith, but the focus was Gnostic Kabbalah. At the end of the 15 years, I decided to leave that group. Well, one, I moved away from Austin. I came back to Ohio. So that group sort of ended. But I also decided to leave the parent org. And it was mostly because I felt this desire to expand beyond, Christian Gnosticism and Kabbalah. It's cool stuff, and I'm not anti any of that, and I still do both of those. But I really felt drawn to other pagan traditions, occult traditions. I really had this vision of wanting to bring it all together. While I was part of that original group, I became a priest, and then I was ordained as a bishop with apostolic succession and Gnostic stuff. So when I came back to Ohio, I decided to leave the group. I sort of looked around to see if there was something else I wanted to do. And there wasn't really anything that fit what I wanted. So I started Circle of Dark Mother and very focused on Lilith, but still is Gnostic. It still got Kabbalah, a little bit of everything. And other Dark Mothers, just Lilith sort of my focus. So it carries over. So that's the long story of how I got here.
The long story short, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, or the long story even longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about that, or?
No. I think it's funny because I was born into one of the strictest, religions. It wasn't affiliated with any, Methodist or Wesleyan or anything like that, but I was born into it, so I have deep background to the point of needing to memorize, entire chapters of the Bible and stuff like that. So it's funny because you're talking about how you were just brought in and brought up to this position of being a youth pastor, and meanwhile I as a woman was born into it, and I was trying to get into a position of teaching and mentoring younger people, and they were like, no. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Which is exactly one of the reasons I left, because the original church, women were major parts. And I kept saying things because my pastor had gone to the same school I did, and I'd be like, so why? And if he would have given a good answer or even an answer, I would have been fine, but it was just shut up and stop asking. And that was when I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, I think there's stories about how Mary Magdalene was supposed to be the leader of the church once Jesus was gone, and they pretty much pushed her out. So
yeah, the Gnostic belief is she was the inner teacher, and Paul was not Paul. I'm sorry, Peter was the outer.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Paul comes in later, and yeah, I mean they pretty much relegate her to just this woman who happened to be there, kind of thing. But the Gnostics know better.
Yeah.
Well, the Gnostics, of course, always know better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
They think for themselves.
They do. They do.
They don't stay in the boat.
Yeah, they don't stay in the boat. So, going with what we were just talking about, so what is Circle of the Dark Mother? Like, what is it that, where did it start, and what is it now?
So it really was an outgrowth of Magdalene Circle in a way, because I came back and I thought about continuing that here. I came back to Ohio and thought about continuing it, but I just wanted to expand it, so I decided that wasn't the right name. I had a couple friends who were also Dark Mother devotees. One was Lilith, one was Hecate. I think they still are. They're not really part of the group. They've had a lot of life stuff going on. Um, but that's how we sort of got to Circle of Dark Mother, because we were working with Dark Mothers. I knew it was going to be Kabbalistic because that's a big part of what I do. I knew it would be Gnostic in the sense of personal path. Um, Everybody decides what their path is, not me telling them or anybody telling them. And I wanted it to be real inclusive. I wanted it to be, you're a chaos magician, you're a grimoire person, you're a witch. Let's all come together and sort of get a framework of the same language and then share what we do. And I didn't want to be exclusive where, you join us and you can't be part of anything else. Because I see so many of those groups that are like, you're part of us, you have to denounce everything else, you can't do anything else. I found that so limiting, and I want to learn from others. So I'm like, let's go, let's all do it. So that's how it started. Pre-COVID, we were meeting at an occult store here in Columbus, Ohio, a witch lab, still around, still a great place, still go there a lot and hang out. But then COVID came, and it was like in person's not happening. So we started doing everything online, which I'm really happy of, because now, only a small portion of our members are in Ohio or in Columbus, and we have people all over the world now. Um, we do mentor people in the basics of Lilith, Divine Feminine, Kabbalah, and Gnosticism, just to get a language going, but with no dogma. So you don't have to believe anything that you don't want to believe. And we're open to people that are part of other groups. We're open to any path as long as you're not hurting other people. We don't declare anything off limits from a standpoint of, you could be Christian and be part of our group as long as you're open and accepting. If you're judgmental and telling people they can't believe what they believe, then, bye. But otherwise,
Yeah.
everybody's welcome. And we got a little bit of everything is what's really come about, which I love, 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 love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, when I came into Circle of the Dark Mother, I read Embodying Lilith. I read Embodying Lilith first, and I had a lot of experiences that led me to Lilith, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna dive in, and I'm reading I get a bunch of books, and I'm reading Embodying Lilith. And I'm like, oh, this is like, and I had studied Jewish mysticism prior, but when I started studying Embodying Lilith, and I was like, oh wow, like this is important. And then I found Mark's YouTube channel and started the process of doing the spheres and all that stuff. I was on Facebook at the time. I was, and it's funny because I've seen how inclusive Circle of the Dark Mother is as I was brought into the inner circle and, did all the things. And it's like, I'm a draconian practitioner. Like, that's my main thing. And I'm working at Kabbalah from that angle, but I'm doing it in a bright and dark tree way. Like, it's not left-hand path or just right-hand path. It's the middle pillar work. And it's very inclusive. I've seen so many people from so many different places coming in and being a part of this movement, and that's what it feels like. It feels like a movement. It feels less like just like a circle or just like a temple or just like a group of people who meet online. It's definitely and it's I'm sure Lilith has something to do with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't join because I was like, oh, this is Yaman's thing, and it's the Kabbalah and Lilith and all that stuff. But like, I've actually started to get drawn in, like, things that I'm interested in. You and Richard are interested in, and so I kind of was like reaching out and being like, hey, do you know anything about this to you guys? And then all of a sudden, like, I'm in it now too. I'm like, how did this happen? I don't even work with Lilith right now.
We're so inclusive, we drag people in. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so so like what exactly are we doing with Circle of the Dark Mother? Like what is your um like I'm gonna tie in two questions together. Like what are we doing with Circle of the Dark Mother, and what is your vision for it? Like what is it that you saw this being, and what is it you see it going forwards?
so I guess we'll go with vision first. And the vision doesn't have a destination. And that's because the vision is just to give people the option to realize that they can choose their own path. They can choose their own spirituality. They don't have to be locked into anything. And I'm not just talking Christianity or Abrahamic religion. People find themselves stuck in even occult traditions where they're told you can't do any of this other stuff, you can't read this, you can't talk about this. And so, really, what this is about, which to me is a core of Lilith, but my view of her, is that everything is about our personal transformation, us being the best us. And I don't mean best based on somebody else's criteria, it's based on us, who we want to be, who we are, working toward that. And so, this group is to give people that option and to learn from everybody. Like, I know, since I started it, people tend to be like, oh, it's Mark's group. It's not my group, it's all of ours. And if I disappeared tomorrow, not planning on it, but if I did, I certainly hope nothing would change. Um, my vision is unity through diversity. The fact that we who are marginalized in one way or another, and pretty much, I think anybody who doesn't toe the party line of any religion is marginalized. So you can be Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Wiccan, Draconian, whatever. And if you're not following the very strict dogma, if there is one for your tradition, some do, some don't, then you become marginalized. And so I want people to know it's okay to be that. And there's others like you. So let's come together and learn. So that's really the vision, is unity through diversity, and give everybody a chance to do what they need to. What we're doing, we started with these in-person meetings where we were doing I mean, we were all over the place. One time it would be Lilith. Next time we'd have some guest speaker talking about Wicca, or, it was all over. What we found is that was cool, but there was no cohesion. There was no way for people to really feel like they connect. So when we went online only, we started out the same way, but we really started finding our feet by having a process for people to sort of learn what we're about. And on our website, we had the spheres, which is basically Kabbalah without all the Hebrew, because some of that can be daunting. And if you don't want Kabbalah to be your path, having to learn Hebrew, some Hebrew, you don't have to learn all of it, but it can be daunting. And I want whatever anybody learns to be as simple as possible until they want to go deeper into it. So we have that. I started the YouTube channel, which had our meetings on it. And then I started doing other topics, a lot of Lilith, of course, because I write books on Lilith. What else am I going to talk about? But there is Kabbalah, there is Gnosticism. There is, like, I have a series on the different Dark Mothers. So a little bit of everything. I've done stuff about Magdalene. I've done stuff about Gnostic scriptures. So there's a little bit of everything. And then we started doing mentoring. And at first it started being like one-on-one. But what you run into there is, well, one, lack of time. You have to have a ton of mentors if you're going to do one-on-one. And it also becomes this place where, again, people don't feel connected because all they've got is their mentor. So we started doing group mentoring, which has turned out amazing because you get, 2 to 6 people in a group and you present some stuff to them, but then they can interact together. I have one cohort going right now with 4 people besides me. Um, and they're talking offline with each other and just tons of interaction. So I think it was last year, we started thinking about how can we have a place for people to interact even more. And so we put together, and thank you HeYamin and also Emmeline from our group, we put together a Discord server. We have a lot of teachings, our mentoring is there. We have chat areas, we have meeting rooms, and that has been really good. Some days there's very little activity, and then sometimes it's all over. There's tons of stuff going on, but it's good. It's a single place for everything. People can watch the videos on YouTube, come in and interact, and I think the people that have taken advantage of that really feel like they're part of a family. Um, Anybody can join. We have open stuff to anybody. Then we have, if somebody becomes a mentee or a member or is part of our membership on YouTube, they can go to a deeper level. And once somebody goes through mentoring, they can decide if they want to be initiated into our group, which isn't very scary, by the way. And it does not mean they can't be part of anything else. We're not excluding them. But when that happens, then they become part of our inner circle and can attend even more, deeper discussions. The only reason we want the initiation first is because we want to make sure people have, the language and that they've really chosen that they want to do this, and learn in the way we're working. But there's no right or wrong. There's people that may never be initiated. There's people that may never even want to be mentees. They just want to come and chat. And you know what? That's totally cool because we're not about converting people. We're about giving people options as deep as they want or as not deep as they want. Another long story, but that's it.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see, like, when I first started doing stuff with the circle, and we were meeting on Zoom, and I was going through the mentoring stuff, and I was doing the spheres, and then doing inner circle work later. And then, like, when we got the Discord, it seemed like kind of things like started to balloon. Like, it seemed like and we have like a lot of events, we have a lot of stuff. Like, it's a little community on the internet, and it feels more inclusive than it was on Facebook, and it feels more like anybody can connect with anybody at any time from who's in the Discord. So it's like, I mean, I've gained 3 mentees just from the Discord, that I work with every week, so it's, and I talk to them often, and I like the feeling of it is like, because some days it's like there's nothing going on, but that's normal. I mean, and then other days I'm just getting pinged, like I'll be sitting in meditation or like sitting working on something, and I'm just getting pinged one after another, and it's like, oh my gosh, but it's amazing, and it's grown, and it feels good. Like, it feels really good. It feels, and people who come in, I mean, most people that have come in have stayed, and people have gone deeper into, starting doing the mentoring groups, and and jumping around and being a part of the community and talking and sharing and like talking about their experiences and getting involved more and more. And it feels really good. I'm grateful that we did it, super grateful.
Me too. And we've expanded from, we've got the sort of set mentoring, but like HeYamin's doing divination meetings and classes. We've got a tarot community, which isn't a teaching, it's just people who want to talk about tarot coming together. We also have a couple of people who are members of our group in mentoring, but they specialize in Lilithian astrology, and they're teaching us that. So there's lots going on, and I want to do more. And as people come forward and say, "I know this," okay, go teach it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm a hermit and I don't really like to interact with people very much, but it's definitely I felt very accepted and like it is a family. Like I keep being like, "Oh no," like pushing away and everyone's like drawing me in. I'm like, "Okay, I guess I belong here."
you do
Yeah.
Well, and this isn't one of the. Well, it is one of the questions. I don't know if I want to jump ahead. I'm gonna jump ahead, and then we'll roll back to some other questions.
Going with the flow.
Yeah, going with the flow. So, in regards to Kabbalah, like what are we doing with Kabbalah? Like how are we using it as practitioners, as Gnostics?
Great question, because when people think of Kabbalah, if they do, they really think of it as Jewish for one thing, and it is. Don't I'm not going to exclude that, but um, they also think of it as sometimes hard to approach. And part of the reason for that is if you find in a lot of cases Kabbalistic studies, they're very Hebrew heavy. Um, they're from a very Jewish perspective, and um, I feel like a lot of them, the people running it, are very deep into Kabbalah already, and so it's a big climb to be able to hear what they're saying. And then there's groups that charge a whole bunch of money, like the Kabbalah Center. Great teachings, but they it costs money, a lot of money to get involved. Our mentoring's free, which is I know people are always like, really? And maybe we should charge, but it's like my vision is for people to be able to learn. I think there can be extra things we do that might cost, but not the base mentoring. To me, that's I got it for free. I think I want people to. But so to understand how we work with Kabbalah, you have to understand that Kabbalah really starts in Mesopotamia. There was a practice called the Ladder of Lights, 8 rungs on this, which correspond to the 8 planets. I mean, it's Sun, Moon, Earth, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Um, and it corresponded to their deities and energies. Well, when the Jewish people are in exile in Babylon, they pick up some of the stuff that's going on, but of course they mold it to their tradition. Of course they would. I mean, they're a people group with their own religion, and so they brought it back when they went back to their lands. And then over time, Kabbalah grows and grows. It gets mixed with the Merkava mysticism in Judaism. And then we hit like the 14th century where the Zohar is put down on paper, and we get what's called modern Kabbalah. To me, 14th century is not so modern, but but still a lot sooner than Mesopotamia, or a lot more recent. But we really work with Kabbalah. We learn the basics of the Jewish side of it, because I think it's a disservice not to give some information on that, because if you don't and someone goes and tries to read a book, they're just going to not have a concept of what's going on. So we share the terminology, but we try to use English words with the Hebrew word as a backup. So you can go back, you can remember the English and go back and look up the Hebrew words. For instance, the spheres of the tree of life are called sephira or sephirat, plural, in Hebrew. Well, who's going to remember that if you don't know Hebrew? So we're like, it's a sphere. But here's the word in Hebrew. So if you go look at another book, you're not going to be like, I have no idea what's going on. But we do it from a standpoint, since we're Gnostic, where you can work with the Jewish names of God, the Jewish personalities associated with these spheres, or you can put any paradigm on it. And I know probably to a very strict Jewish Kabbalistic standpoint, they'd probably be horrified. Um, and I don't mean to do that. I don't mean to diminish what they do, but we're not them. Most of us aren't Jewish. We're Gnostics, and Gnostics are totally known for co-opting anything that works. Um, and there's enough books out there that I don't feel like we're cultural appropriating, because Kabbalah has been put out there, and it's part of like Golden Dawn, Hermeticism, and Thelema, and all these other areas where it's not Jewish based. So what we do is we let people decide: do you want to do it the Jewish method? Do you want to add different entities to this framework? And then we also work with the dark tree, the tree of shadows, Sitrahara, the other side. We're not really left hand or right hand path. I say we're ambidextrous, which, haha. But we're middle paths. So what we do is we use the bright tree, and some people use the dark, and sometimes we use both. We teach it, and if you want to use it, great. We definitely, with the dark tree, tend to want people to go a little deeper before they dive too far into that, because it's all shadow work and a little more difficult. I think it's important to learn the bright tree before you dig too deep into the dark. Personally, we're not going to stop somebody, but we're going to give them a little bit of, maybe it's better we start here. So we work with it, but from a Gnostic pagan, like we do everything. It's how does it work for you? Let's explore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've my experience with Kabbalah, especially since before I was a part of Circle of the Dark Mother, before I started doing the spheres for the initiatory work, like my knowledge of Kabbalah was limited. I was studying Jewish mysticism, I was practicing Gnosticism, but I didn't have the framework that I have of Kabbalah, like I do, well, of course, like I do now. But even prior, I knew stuff, I knew things, I had the intuition and the understanding, but I didn't. It was nothing like I wouldn't have known how to access the Kabbalah like I do now, if it wasn't for Circle of the Dark Mother, and being like your teachings and Richard's teachings and yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like it's people can like read many books and still not fully understand, like especially with Kabbalah, because I know that a lot of it, even though there's books teaching people how to access like the dark tree or the bright tree in some ways, but Kabbalah is a personal path. You learn the things you need to learn so that you can personally go through the process yourself, and it's completely completely personalized for you. Like everybody's gonna have their own way. They can follow steps, they can follow direction, but when it comes to the intimacy of their own experience, it's completely different than anything. And honestly, in any magic, I've probably seen the most personal experiences from this specifically, other than meditation. But I of course pair meditation, but especially with my draconian practice, like that's been personal. But going into Kabbalah, like that's like a deeply intense, like it's opening these energies within you, and it's working through especially in the dark tree, you're working through these things and allowing these things to flow through you and move through you, and especially either way, bright tree or dark tree, you're accessing energies and you're opening up to higher intelligences and frequencies and all that stuff. So just it's interesting that you say the part about that, because it's definitely 100%. Like you can look at like the Jewish side of things or the Christian side of things, or the left hand path side of things, like the antinomian path, but it's always going to be like everybody's experience could write a whole new version of what we're looking at for Kabbalah or this work.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I haven't gone through the spheres. I don't plan to, but HeYamin is going through them, and I think it's funny because I've had experiences as he enters into the spheres and as he does his work. I've had dreams and experiences that have aligned me, and I think it's so interesting because I say I don't plan to go through them, but I kind of am, because I'm his partner, and I think what he experiences I also experience. So
Very true.
yeah.
Energetic resonance. Kabbalah by association. I love it.
Yeah.
Kabbalah by association. That's a great term. That's a coined term right there. You better TM that. So let's go into, you talked about Mesopotamia. So what is the Mesopotamian link with Lilith?
So it's a little controversial because archaeologists will tell, and Assyriologists will tell you that Lilith, some of them will tell you Lilith was not a Mesopotamian goddess. They will also say that she was not a single entity. I disagree with that, and I'll explain briefly, hopefully, why I disagree with that. They say she's not a single entity because there was a class of beings like her, the Lilin and the Lilu. And they then say that Lilitu is a plural as well. And maybe at some point that was true. But, and by the way, Lilitu is the Assyrian name, which becomes Lilith in Hebrew. It was the Akkadian name, not Assyrian. Akkadian, Assyrian, and Hebrew are all Semitic languages, just like Arabic and Aramaic and languages like that. So they all have commonalities. So Lilu, Lilitu, Lilith, they all have a common piece. The original Mesopotamians, of course, that we know of were the Sumerians, and their language is isolated. It's not like anything else. So they didn't call her Lilitu because that's a later name. But the reason I believe that she was a goddess is there was a cuneiform tablet that is called the Ananu. I forget the Akkadian, but it's really the Sumerian to Akkadian god list. And what it is it gives a name of every deity in Sumerian with their Akkadian Syrian name next to it. And so you go down through it, and it's got all these deities. And at the end, there is a grouping of about 6 that are considered demons. And so Assyriologists will say, well, they're demons, they're not gods. Well, a couple problems with that. One is not every demon is listed in the Assyrian, in this god list. So why these few? Second of all, the name is in Sumerian has the syllables dim, D-I-M, period. That's the different, they wouldn't have a period, but that would be the differentiation in syllable, me, and then dot and something. And dim me usually translates to she. These are all female entities. And there's like Dimmi A, Dimmi, a bunch of different ones. Well, the one that says Lilitu in Akkadian and Assyrian is Dimmi GI. And it's GI6. The GI cuneiform can have different pronunciations and meanings. The GI6 means night. So really, this name means she of the night. And so they're like, oh, but these are demons. Well, there's also a very well-known deity in Mesopotamia called Lamashtu. She was a goddess and a demon, very harsh, very, very
Yeah.
harsh being. Oh, scary. But her name in Sumerian is Dim-mi with no suffix after it. And actually, Dim-mi with an R, an IR, or an ER are all different words for God, goddess, or gods and goddesses.
Okay.
So why would Dim-mi G not be a deity? And they'll say that the reason is that they don't know who her parents are. And if you're not a descendant of a god, you're not a god. Well, so we don't know who our parents are. That doesn't mean we might not find out later. And Lamashtu, we know her father was Anu, the sky god. Don't know who her mother was, but it's Demi, she. It's just she in Sumerian. So why would she of the night not also be a goddess? And we know that then the Jewish people are in Babylonian exile. While they're there, they pick up this Lilith, bring her back with them, call her a demon, and they give her a lot of the attributes of Lamashtu: baby killer, pregnant woman, chaser, succubus, drinking blood, all kinds of stuff that was Lamashtu. Lilith may have been a succubus, but not the rest. The other thing that is interesting is the Hurrians, who were not in Mesopotamia, they're just north in Turkey. They use cuneiform as their writing as well, but have their own language, but they use cuneiform too. Well, they have a deity that's called the asterisk, which the cuneiform asterisk means goddess. And then after that is G6, so goddess of night. But she doesn't have another name. They don't give her a Hurrian name. She's just goddess of night. So it, to me, is not a big jump from Dim-mi G6, she of night, to goddess of night in cuneiform, both being the same being. Since we have no Hurrian name for her, and we don't have a reference to Lilith's parents, it sort of makes sense to me since they were geographically related, they were the same writing style, they shared a whole bunch of mythology. Why wouldn't this she of night and goddess of night be the same name? So again, it's controversial. They may tell you she's not. I'm gonna tell you she is, and you can believe me or not. It's okay.
I believe you. I mean, I've talked
Cool.
many times about the connection with the Necronomicon, and they use Lilith too, and Lilith a lot in the Necronomicon, the Simon Necronomicon, and they talk when you're summoning the Watchers in that, you shove a dagger that's like sacred dagger that you're using into a potted plant that's between it. There's like a circle, and around that's a circle, and you summon the Watchers, and you have to call them in, and you say Dinger Z. That's what you yell, and you slap the knife, and then when you call them away, you slap the knife again. And the we were talking about this, I think, in the last episode. The Watchers are like hungry, devouring angels. They're like it's very dark. I wouldn't say that Necronomicon is like anything like H.P. Lovecraft stuff. I don't think it doesn't feel like that. And when you're doing the magic, it doesn't feel that way.
They kind of put an H.P. Lovecraft spin on the book, but in reality, it's Sumerian magic.
I'd say it's very Sumerian, and there's a lot of stuff in there because they use cuneiform, and there's a lot of things in there that are very very, it's almost like a love letter to that age, more or less. And I find all that stuff. I'm a different type of scholar, so like I kind of like I'm not a schooled scholar. Let's put it that way. So like when I hear this stuff, it just amazes me, and it's like I don't like, I see how some of these things come together, And I like when people study old texts and they study, like the writings prior, like how they'll get the scrolls out and they'll like put them together and study the languages and stuff. And I find that stuff so interesting, especially because of the fact that like I have nothing in my wheelhouse where I do that specifically. So it's amazing to me. I know that
And it's sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I don't know Sumerian, and it's going to be it would be a hard lift because first you have to learn cuneiform to understand what the symbols in the writing are, and they're not letters, they're syllables. But then you have to look at the cuneiform and decide: is it Sumerian? Is it Akkadian? Is it Assyrian? Which dialect? Because it was around for thousands of years. Or is it some related culture like, the cultures of Anatolia in Turkey, who also use cuneiform? So it's a big undertaking. It's not like learning, most languages where you learn the alphabet, if it's not the English alphabet, the one we use, I mean, or, and then you learn the language. With this, you have to learn the writing and then multiple languages if you want to read all of it. Super complicated.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've been studying Babylonian just for the hell of it, and some of that stuff gets so confusing, and especially since like it's not a used language anymore, and they don't know everything about it. So it's like they can tell you how people might speak it or how it might be written informally, but they can't like straight up teach you like this is exactly what it was, how it worked, and everything. They have glimpses into that stuff, but they can't. And it's sad to see languages go like that, especially beautiful languages. There's many beautiful languages that we just don't have access to anymore, and to the same extent.
At least with the Semitic languages, they can make guesses based on Hebrew and Arabic. With Sumerian being an isolate, they literally, all they can do is guess what the Assyrian and the Akkadian was that explains the Sumerian. And since there's no other language on earth like it that we know of, that we found in writing, it's really, how did they pronounce it? Well, we have to look at how they pronounced it, the Sumerian in Akkadian or Assyrian, based on our knowledge of Hebrew and Arabic, and work our way back. So, too complicated for me.
Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. So, just we have a couple more questions, and we can go into freeform talking or what have you. So, why is Lilith associated with the abyss or the night? Like we were just talking about this with the languages of Akkadian and such. So
yeah, so her name, as I said, in Sumerian means she of night. In Akkadian, it means moon wind. Which, if you think about it, when is the moon and the wind connected? Well, it's night. So again, there's this night reference. In Hebrew, her name, it being Lilith, is a cognate out of Lila, which means night. So again, we've got this night connection. Probably in her original form, she's a goddess / demon of night. She also is then a being that inhabits the night, because when she's brought into Judaism and she's demonized, since she is considered a demon, a dark force, she's then associated with the creatures of the night. Being a sexual woman too, in the Judaic laws, back at that time, around purity and such, being a sexual woman meant she was of the night, because she was a unclean creature. Now, I don't agree with that, obviously, the fact that sexual women are unclean, which is so funny because the Mesopotamians just did not care. They were so like, everybody's sexual and who cares? So Lilith being of the night in their tradition was not strictly like because she's sexual. Although there is something to be said about the fact that a lot of sexual stuff happens at night. We sleep with our partners and sex happens a lot of times. She's also associated very much in both cultures with owls, snakes, cats, a lot of things that are nocturnal. So that's brought in. But I think when you get into more of her attributes, you get into the stuff like the abyss, because she's really this goddess of transformation, of passion, of night, and things that scare us, but in the end help us to be better. And the abyss is really this place where our consciousness has to look at itself. And that can be a really scary thing until we're ready to look at ourselves. And so because of that, I really think that's one reason Lilith was demonized, because people don't want to look at their stuff. Yeah. So, she's of this darkness that makes you look, and I don't want to do that. So she becomes part of the abyss. You can get into the dark tree, Satrahara, the other side. You can get into Dayat in the Tree of Life, the tunnel between universes. But I think part of it is, too, she really is a creature of the primordial darkness before anything physical happens. One of the Mesopotamian myths, and there's so many that it's all over the place, but one is that Tiamat, the dragon goddess, was killed by her children. It's a long, complicated story. I won't go into all that. But when they kill her, she births the moon, and day and night come out of her being killed. And one of the beliefs is Lilith is manifested out of the night that comes out of her. In Judaism, there's an idea in Kabbalah of bohu vatohu, which is chaos and void. And there is a belief in some circles that Lilith is part of that, this primordial non-creation, this shadow that then gets brought into creation. And then the last thing I'll bring up, because I could go on and on and on, is in Zohar, there's this discussion of the divine masculine and divine feminine being completely equal, and that they shine both like the sun. But the divine feminine chooses to diminish her light so that people, or any beings, because it's not just humans, can have a place to live where they can be individuals, grow, find their enlightenment, and find their way back to the light. And that's really the story of Lilith in Kabbalah. She is the bright feminine, but she clothes herself in darkness purposely so that we have a chance at being who we need to be. Because in Kabbalah, if you don't have this separation, everything just gets sucked right back to primordial stuff. And that means you don't get time to be an individual. You don't get time to grow and learn and reach enlightenment. You just return unconsciously. And so she's giving us the chance to be conscious and to grow and experience. And so again, that's darkness. That's the night, the day is the sun, the moon is the night, and that is her. So hopefully that makes sense. There's so much I could go on for 2 hours just trying to explain the basics of this.
It's beautiful, though. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
I think that's interesting about Tiamat causing the moon to explode and Lilith being born out of that. Like, wouldn't that mean Tiamat is Lilith's mother?
In that story, really, well, and really all of the Anunnaki come from Tiamat in that story. There's multiple Sumerian stories. There's also Nama, who was a primordial mother who didn't have to be killed by her kids. So probably better story there. But
Yeah.
if she is one of the goddesses, then she would be a descendant of Tiamat because she has to be. Um, so
That's amazing. So this is more of a you like a deeper you question in regards to Lilith. Um,
mhm.
what has been the importance of Lilith in your life, modern culture, and you see in the future?
Mm. Well, for me, when I encountered her as a child, actually in a Vampirella comic, um, it was the ability to question. I didn't grow up in the church, but of course I knew the story of Adam and Eve. I mean, everybody in the 60s knew the story of Adam and Eve. I mean, it was practically on TV, because it was such a Christian based time. Um, but when I read the story of this idea of there being this woman that's there with them, who is a little naughty, which I liked even as a kid, um, I was like, what if? What if it's not everything we've been told? And then fast forward way into the future where I end up, finding her again. She became the ability for me to be who I am.
Yeah.
I went from married youth pastor, Christian, to divorced single father, heretic in 6 months after I encountered
Wow.
her.
Mhm.
Um, and at the time, it was really hard and it was horrible. But in the end, it was everything that needed to happen. Um, I I cannot say how important my time as a single parent with my sons was and how it shaped me and them, I hope in a good way. Um, so that changed everything. And she was the symbol for me that you could be put down, marginalized, kicked, demonized, and come out of it even more powerful. And so she gave me the power to be myself. Um, I was never very comfortable in my own skin. I had a tough childhood. I had a rebellious later teen years, not early. I was the model child for a while. Um, I've had migraine headaches since I was 3 years old. So I I was the kid in school they followed around with kitty litter because I threw up all the time, which is not really good for your social life, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, so she really showed me I could be whatever I want to be. And it's taken me time to get there. And I'm not saying I've arrived or I'm perfectly me, but she's given me this option to be who I want and take chances and be more comfortable who I am. In pop culture, it's really interesting. I was in another podcast just earlier, and one of the questions was, is she becoming too much of a commodity because she's everywhere? And my answer was yes and no. Um, she is everywhere. You look at since the 80s, the Lilith Fair, every supernatural type show they've had her in. True Blood, Supernatural. Um, I mean, there's many, many others I can think of if I put my mind to it. She's in comics. She's in video games. I mean, Diablo and Marvel Midnight Suns, and she's everywhere. Um, and so on one side, she's gone from, being a deity and then a demon to this pop culture icon, which in some ways takes away some of her supernatural element because she's been put into a two-dimensional character a little bit. But on the other hand, I love it because people weren't talking about her. And it's making people more comfortable because I'll tell you, a lot of these stories, they've done a really good job of her being a powerful woman who is an anti-hero. I think in Diablo and definitely in Midnight Suns, because I played that video game, she starts out being a villain, you think, but you really realize that she's working things behind the scenes for what's right. And that's really how Lilith is in my mind. So I think it's good. And so I think she's becoming an icon of personal power, choosing what's right. She's starting to become an icon of rebelling against things that aren't the way they should be. And so I think for the future, if things keep going as this, she will be a rallying cry for us to have, and I hate to use the word righteous because unfortunately it's misused by certain traditions, but I want to say she's the advocate for righteous anger. Like when people are treated poorly and someone needs to stand up for them, Lilith is the deity that tells you to do that for yourself and for others. Um, and if you have anger that's not so righteous because it's based more in our ego or our fears, she's not going to condemn you. She's going to teach you to uplift it. So I think she's a great example of what we can be and a rallying cry for what our society could be. Do I think everyone needs to follow Lilith? I'd love it, but no. I mean, everyone has their own spiritual path, and I'm down with that. I think everyone needs to find their own dark mother, but it doesn't have to be Lilith, even though I think she's the best choice. That was a joke, sort of. So that's sort of my view of her for me, for our culture, and for the future.
Did you? That was my final question, and I totally, I totally agree with. I don't watch a lot of TV or anything, but I don't play Diablo or, but I think it's great that she's appearing, that she's showing herself, and you're right, she is that rebellious nature, that adversarial nature, but in a way that's for the justice of all. Mm-hmm. And I fully see. I know, coming from a harder path myself in life, she's shown me, and she's just begun, but she's shown me my ability to be myself and allow myself to be exactly that. No being sorry for who I am or being sorry for what I am capable of. And she does that very well. She does that herself,
I don't have anything to add.
You don't have anything else?
No.
Were you going to do a reading for us, or
I can.
We have our segment where she pulls the cards. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I do want, while she's setting that up, I did want to say one thing.
Okay.
And this ties into the last question. I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of shame of their background. And that shame is because society's told them that who they are isn't good enough. Or something they've done is like the end of them being able to be good. And I don't mean good in good. I mean in being somebody who can be looked up to and have a good life and be powerful. And her message is shame can be healed. And usually it's because someone's telling us we can't be who we really are. And screw that.
Yeah, so. That's true. And I mean, when you look at the climate of the world right now, you can really see people actually like letting go. And it's almost like they're falling into a state of the depression, the depression of letting go of the shells that are holding them back so that they can then release that part of themselves to be truly themselves. The phoenix has to fully burn out to ash to rise again, and that doesn't mean that everything has to be destroyed. It's just we need to do that in ourselves. We have to allow ourselves to let go of that nature inside of ourselves, so that we can truly rise again. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Burn what doesn't work and uplift the rest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as I wrongfully quoted you in one episode, you it's not true enlightenment. It's not pure enlightenment. You always say you have something that you say and of course I forget it again. about enlightenment, the enlightenment that you seek, the enlightenment for all, or I can't remember it. Oh my god.
True will is what we seek, which is being
Yeah.
our true selves, our higher self, the best us, and not best by somebody else's definition.
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which phrase, but
I get what
that's
you
the
mean.
gist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something you always say, and you probably don't even think about the fact that you say it. And I have gotten it wrong multiple times, but it's yeah, and it speaks. So I bring it up because it speaks so truly to, you know, the will of our true enlightenment, the will of ourselves, being our truest self, and you spoke it perfectly with that explanation as well. So maybe one day I'll
Thank you.
remember it when I'm recording. I'll actually get it
Next time
right.
next time I actually say it, call it out so that I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what deck are you using this time?
So I'm using the Devil's deck. Let's see if we can get it up here.
Oh
Ooh,
yeah, it shows up.
Um,
Yeah.
it's
perfect
actually
for the Devil's
by
podcast.
it's by Shiva Honey, and
Mm,
I got anger, unbaptism,
mm,
and memento mori.
ah,
I love these cards. I love this deck, and I think it's really funny because this deck, it kind of is telling a story of like the anger that you feel over maybe things not being right or unfair treatment, and how it can lead you to release, because baptism is about being brought in, about I'm struggling with my thoughts today. It's about like being like raised up and provided like spiritual protection in some ways, and unbaptism is about the release and letting go, and just kind of like that, almost like a fall from grace actually. And then with memento mori, that's kind of like saying like I still remember. So you feel that anger, and it allows you to release yourself from maybe an unfair or negative situation, and then saying like, but I can still remember that, like moving forward, even though I've released myself from it, I can still allow myself to remember and remind other people. So
And it's also
beautiful.
memento mori is it stands for remember too you must die. And it's interesting because I was talking about the phoenix stuff, and with the anger, like we're releasing and allowing ourselves to fully go into that ability to with the unbaptism to let go of the things that we're holding on to,
yeah,
and
let go of your anger, and maybe remember without the anger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also because the card is fire, and it's like it's rekindling that flame of who we truly are, who we are within.
Yeah, and it's got the goat head
got the goat
candelabra type
that's
stuff.
cool.
Yeah.
Looks cool.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect for a Lilith message because,
Yeah.
as you said, it's you get angry at the way you've been treated, the way you've been pictured, the way society is forcing you. And then the unbaptism to me is the breaking of societal bonds, all the programming we've been given, and then remembering how we were treated, but remembering we're more than that, and then helping others by remembering they're in the same situation we were. So perfect Lilith message.
Yeah. I think it's funny that actually sits on my Bast altar.
Mm,
But I think it's hilarious that Bast was the one that claimed this little deck, because I was like, oh, this is definitely a Lucifer deck. I brought it home, and it was immediately like Bast was like, no, that's mine.
Well, she is an underworld being.
Yeah.
Well, is there
That's
is there
awesome.
any is there any closing thoughts you had that anyone has that they wanted to anything? I just wanted to cover the bases just in case.
I just want to say thank you for doing this. You know that I've done a few podcasts, not a ton. They've all been good, but since I know you all, it was definitely more comfortable and feeling like I didn't have to be. You know, even though I look like an extrovert, I'm really an introvert. So I get on these podcasts, and even though I don't seem to be nervous, inside I'm going. So this was nice to be sort of like, oh, I already know them, and this is
Yeah.
cool. And so thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for doing this. I've wanted to do this for a while, and we finally just did it. We talked about it, and you know, we have this podcast to do it on. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and we'll have to do more of these because it was great. It was awesome. Super super grateful. And I talk to you all the time, so it's same with Andromeda. We just started recording it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and the last one I was on was very Lilith focused, and she mentioned something. She's one of our mentees, by the way.
Yeah.
She mentioned, you know, oh, she really likes other dark goddesses, and I'm like, let's talk about that. So I think we're doing a follow up. So my point being, we don't just have to talk Lilith. I certainly am more than happy to talk with her at any opportunity, but always can do other things too. So,
Yeah. Not a one trick pony, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
now maybe five.
Yeah. Well, so we'll close it out, and all the links, all of Mark's links will be below. All of our links are below. There's the Circle of the Dark Mother website. I'll probably put the Discord link for Circle of the Dark Mother. Any contact stuff that we have. We've got links to Andromeda and Mai's Etsy and my website. I think that's all that stuff. And the links are all on YouTube, in the bio as well. Trying to see. Like if you liked it, if you enjoyed this, subscribe if you want to see more. We've got past episodes if this is your first one, and we've got future ones coming out. We get these out every Monday and Friday around 2 Pacific time. And I'm not going to forget this time. Comment if you have anything to
always be curious.
Always be curious.
Always be curious.
And yeah, so and check people out. And I think that's everything. So as always, I always end this with a special. The darkness in me sees and honors the darkness in you. Thank you. This has been the Doubles Podcast.